You're listening to the Clean Comedy Podcast with your host, James Creviston.
Hey everybody, this is James from the Clean Comedy Podcast, and I just want to shout out to you real quick to let you know that we're coming up on our 300th episode. 300, that's right, it's coming up, and there's going to be some big changes. You guys have requested a lot of stuff from me, and I'm going to give it to you. The logo over here, if you're watching the podcast on YouTube, is going to change. It will also change in your iTunes and all those things. You'll see a new logo coming up. Look for that. That'll change soon. You'll see it in the 300th episode. The new logo will be the background. The new logo, you'll see it everywhere, and everything will change on that day. We're also going to launch a Patreon. Lots of you have been asking for it. We're going to do a lot of stuff on Patreon. We're going to do get-togethers on there. We're going to do joke writing on there. We're going to do all the cool stuff that you guys want to do to make your comedy better. That's what I'm here for. So Patreon, it's going to be coming. So get excited. Episode 300, all that stuff's going to drop. You're also going to get a behind the scenes at what I've done since I started comedy, the amount of money I've made, the shows that I've done, the places I've been, the writing, everything that I've done. To get questions that you guys have, send them in. Email me for questions because we're going to do a Q&A on the 300th episode. Email cleancomedypodcast@gmail.com. See ya. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Clean Comedy Podcast. It's James, and today we have a great person for you. You're going to learn a lot because this guy runs an entertainment business. He runs comedy festivals. He helps book people for college shows, promotions all over the place. And it's not just comedy. It's music, poetry, comedy, all kinds of entertainment. So please, I'm going to mess this up because I know he just told me this. Chris Miree, correct?
Yeah, no, you got it right.
Yeah, boom.
Yeah.
I am so bad with names. I'm not kidding you. I butcher people's names all the time. So there we go.
So does every other person in America. It's okay.
I know, but I hate it because I have one of those last names that everyone butchers. Like it's been butchered forever, and I feel bad for like my daughters because their name gets butchered in school all the time. So I'm like, all right. So they just go by like their last. They just go by C. There's like whatever C. You know, I'm like, all right, that's fine. That's smart. So Chris, welcome to the podcast. Tell us a little bit about you, how you got started in this business. Are you a comedian yourself, or what do you do? Well, just kind of give us a little background.
I used to be a comedian, yeah. So I'll tell you my backstory. So I was born and raised in the Bronx, New York. If you know anything about the Bronx, it was rough times, but just everything was comedy. But I never really realized that comedy, stand-up, I never put it all together until I went to college in upstate New York, Ithaca College. You've never heard of Ithaca? It's next door to Cornell. So I did my first stand-up competition. I crushed it, fell in love with the craft, and was just performing comedy at a very high level, very early on. And my advisor at the time, because I was part of the student activities board for comedy. So what I would do was just bring comics I wanted to open for, learn the game from them, and then take that knowledge and run with it. So
genius.
She introduced me to the college market because we would go to these conferences where a bunch of colleges would go to do block booking so we can kind of save money on acts who were in the area, right? So if somebody was coming into town and they were originally $2,000, but 4 schools decided to book this person within a week span, that $2,000 now becomes $1,400. So now we got an extra money in our budget. So I started going to that conference as the comedy chair. But I was like, hold on, I could do this as a comedian. And then I realized how expensive it was. So that semester, I stopped buying books. You know, I wasn't going out. I was saving all my money to go to this conference. And I went to the conference, did the showcase, started booking colleges while in college. Nuts. And while I was doing it, I just figured there was a lot of other talented comedians that I knew that didn't know the space, specifically Black and brown comedians, right? So I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna start something here. So I started Too Funny Entertainment as a vehicle to get comedians in that door. And as I'm at these conferences and I'm meeting folks, I just ran into a bunch of talented people. It was like, I'm looking for representation. I love your run-of-the-mill approach. I'm going to be part of the organization. So I started signing people outside of comedy, music, spoken word. But I still want to keep it very boutique. So I only represent, the most I ever had was about a 12, and that was too much. So we try to keep it at about 6 to 8 right now.
Nice.
And that's how we started doing the booking for colleges. So we do the conferences, APCA, NAPCA, and COCA, which is the Canadian college conference, and then
Oh,
we
that's
do
cool.
comedy festivals as well. The Redlands Comedy Festival, and then our signature festival, the Finger Lakes Comedy Festival in upstate New York. So, and that's on its 5th year, happening in about 3 weeks now.
Congrats, it's awesome. And then the Redlands one is happening in the end of or middle of October, right?
Middle
Like
of October. Yep.
all right. And that one's in, just so you guys know, if you're in SoCal or you're in even Central California, Redlands is out by San Bernardino, so you should be able to get to it pretty easily. I Google it from where I live. It's less than 2 hours, so there's no problem to get there and get back if you need to do shows in LA between or do whatever you need to do. So, and I believe it's held, is it Thursday, Friday, and Saturday? Or is it Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Friday, Saturday. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
October 13th to the 15th. Yep.
There you go. So see, and you can still do all your stuff in LA, and you could still drive out there if you need to. So it's good. And then what made you pick Redlands over all the places around?
I tell you, so I live in Redlands now. So
Okay.
I did move across the country for a day job. I still work in nonprofit, impacting youth and communities and such. And in Redlands, man, it's a beautiful, quaint town, but they have no type of entertainment outside of like food and drink, right? So you go out, you eat, you drink, you may go to a spot or a brewery that has live music, but that's it, right?
Wow.
So I'm like, hold on, this may be a good opportunity to provide some entertainment for Redlands. So this is really a test. One, to get a staple comedy festival in Redlands, because I feel like there's a need there. But my goal is to eventually open up a comedy club in Redlands, because we have a comedy club in Ontario, which is about 30 minutes west of Redlands. But if everybody else don't have anything, right? So to open up a nice little comedy club so people have some entertainment after their meals, or if they just want to go straight for the entertainment piece, they have that. So this is kind of my test run to see how that's received in the community.
That's awesome. I have a friend of mine, Mark Masters. He's been on the podcast a few times. He did the first Vail Comedy Festival. So in Vail, Colorado, they have no clubs around there, but he started by doing a weekly show in Vail. And he got, he was booking great comedians. They were coming on. Everything was going well. And then he got the whole place in Vail to be part of this comedy festival. And they took over for I want to say it was like a week or a weekend, but they took over Vail and they had a great festival. So you should reach out to him. I'll give you his email after this and you can reach out to him, because I think he might be able to help you with helping you get more things or set up something so you don't have to start a club, but find a venue that you can do a weekly show or a monthly show or bi-weekly show, whatever, and get that party started, because that's going to be the big part, is getting something so then people know. Now, with the Redlands Festival, what is the goal of the festival? Is it just to showcase new comedians? Is there a competition? Like, what's the goal of the festival?
So it's really, I love to think of my festivals as a conference, so to speak, and it's kind of a place where comedians come together and network. The Finger Lakes Comedy Festival, again, we're in our 5th year. We usually have about 50, 60 comedians come to this little town in Ithaca. And as you know, there's a bunch of, as we just talked about, a bunch of comedians that actually produce shows, right? So of course you have show producers, but there are a lot of comedians that are doing a lot of the groundwork and actually booking other comedians. So it's just a great work for folks to connect and really try to get work for the rest of the year. And I hope to do that with the Redlands Festival, in addition to stage time. And then we always have photographers and videographers at our venues, because as an agent, I've received some terrible press kits with videos and photos. So I want to make sure that all comedians that come through the festival at least have that, so you can put together a nice press kit as you try to get yourself bookings, whether that's other festivals, corporate gigs, or even get into the colleges. So just making sure they have some additional resources to make sure they can kind of further their career if that's something they want to do. Some people just want to come and do their bit because they got a lot on their mind. So the funny part is that you run into a whole bunch of folks that do comedy for different reasons, and I love that. Not everyone is trying to be a mega star or make it. So
yeah, and that's true. That's what I always tell people. I'm like, I do a lot more than just stand up, do writing, podcasting, all the other things. So it bleeds into other parts of my life and how I make my living. I love stand up. Am I ever going to be, Kevin Hart or, heaven forbid, Dave Chappelle? That'd be awesome. Jerry Seinfeld, whatever. But like, But am I ever going to be that level? Probably not, but I would love to, be able to travel and do stand up, which I've been able to do, make
Mhm.
money as a professional comedian. So that's, to me, that's the level I want to get at is, can I make comedy my year round profession and make my living that way instead of having to do, a 9 to 5 or something like that.
Right.
And then use what I have getting from comedy to impact other people's lives. Like my big goal, this is
Mhm.
going to be sound weird. You said you were at work for a nonprofit. One of my big goals, I don't know if are you a wrestling fan by chance? Are you like
I
familiar
used
with
to be,
wrestling?
yeah,
Okay, you know John Cena, right?
of course, yeah.
Okay, so John Cena is the number one celebrity for Make a Wish. Like he does more Make a Wishes than anyone else. Like that's
I
a
heard
that's a
that.
100%
Yeah.
fact. So I want to give John Cena a run for his money. I want to become famous so that I can go do more Make a Wishes than John Cena. Like I know that sounds crazy. That's like a
Mhm.
weird thing, but I think it would be awesome to go do that and like be able to help kids and other people that I could help and do venues like that, help raise money, doing fundraisers, things like that. So that way I could use my name
Awesome.
to bring in money to make the world a better place. I'm not smart like Elon Musk. I'm not be able to make electric cars. I'm not gonna be able to, do that kind of stuff. But if I can raise money to help other people, then that would be awesome for me. So
That
that's
is
my big
awesome.
goal.
I like it, and I think John Cena would be, as long as it doesn't like he doesn't know you're on to him. I think you could do it. But I think if someone tells him you're on to him, he may try to up you again.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to really like work at it like for a while, like make sure that like because the moment I get like the amount of fame that Make a Wish will take me to help do Make a Wish stuff, I will
Mhm.
100% like just do it as often as they'll let me to do it. You know what I'm saying? So that I'm excited for that. So what is the for people that want to submit to the festival that's still open? If you go to toofunnyent.com. You go there, there's the festival, you click on festivals, it'll show the link to it. You can submit there. What are you looking for in because I said there's like a tape and other things like that. What are you looking for in the
Mhm.
video? Are you just looking for somebody that is kind of funny? What if they're new? What if they're not, polished
Mhm.
yet? All that kind of stuff. Like what are we looking for here?
Right. So we're taking all people. So one, we're looking for a video that we can actually hear what the person is saying, right? That's number one. If I can't hear what you're saying, it's going to be really hard to try to judge the tape. But we have some newcomers, we have some veterans. So what we're really looking for is it's weird to say because it's subjective, but I have a great ear for comedy that isn't just my ear, right? I
Right.
know something that can be funny for other people, even if it isn't funny for me, right? And if I need a second opinion, I usually give it to my admin assistant and say, hey, what do you think for that? But what we're looking for is someone that's able to tell jokes or tell stories that's authentic and is available, right? That's the second piece of it all, that someone is available to actually do the festival, because some people, we get a lot of submissions and some people like, oh no, I can't do it, sorry, booked. Or so we just try to make sure that folks are available. And again, just making sure they have audible tape.
That's great. So there's an opening for guys that if you're new, guys and girls, if you're new, if you're looking for something, if you want to get out of LA because it's about an hour 45, 2 hours outside of LA, you get out of LA, get out of the bubble, go try something new, go to a new place, help bring comedy to a new place. For me, that's amazing. I love that. I'm all about bringing comedy to a new place. Where I live in LA is kind of a dead zone for comedy, so I live past Calabasas, but before Camarillo and all that stuff there. And if you go down in Camarillo, Ventura, there are comedy clubs there. If you go into the valley, right, you start at Ha Ha, Flappers, Improv, Comedy Store, all that stuff. But in between that area, dead zone. There's no comedy places. So it's pretty cool that we could put on shows, and I put on shows, and I know people who put on shows locally, and that helps do that, bring comedy to a place where people can access it easier because it's not always great. You don't always want to drive half an hour,
Right.
whatever, to a comedy club. So it's amazing that you're going to bring it there. And I wish you all the best on a comedy club. That's one of my goals too. Like I would love to own a comedy club. That's like one of the biggest things I've thought of. Like, how can I make that happen at some point? So I probably will too. And now, Dave Chappelle has a club, which I think is amazing. I think more comedians and more people that actually understand comedy business, and comedians make better comedy club owners. I have a friend of mine, B. Smitty, who was on the podcast, who owns Upstage Comedy Lounge in San Antonio. It's as much as far as I know, it's one of the few or only black owned comedy clubs in America.
Oh
And
wow.
it is amazing, and they are kind and helpful, and they are just, it's awesome. They just hit their first year and they're popping off. So I am very happy for that.
Awesome.
And I love
Yeah.
to see that people bring it. So
Yeah, no, I'm excited. It's been a goal of mine for quite some time, and yeah, I'm really excited. Once I find a space, I'll be ready to go. It's probably the best I didn't find a space yet, because I'll probably be out the window with the idea already. So yeah.
I mean, but that's good though. And this is a good way to test the ground, right? You already have done it in Finger Lakes, you said, for 5 years or so. So you know how that works there. Now you're bringing it to a new place and starting it over. Now, the other thing that I think would be interesting is since you have all this information, sharing that with comedians so they could do not festivals, but clubs, open rooms, make those connections. Cause that's the hard part, right? Like you said, with colleges, even finding a space and getting in there is difficult. How did you approach Redlands and Finger Lakes as well for this kind of event? Like, what did you do for that kind of groundwork?
Yeah. So for Finger Lakes, I went to school in Ithaca. So and it had similar to Redlands, and that's kind of what made me think of it as well. Very quaint downtown, a lot of mom and pop shops. And I was doing comedy at a high level then. So we were looking for places to perform. My barbershop, great guys. We decided to do a comedy show there one time. And I'm talking about the place is small, but we packed it out. We had the stage. They had nobody gonna get in trouble now, but we had drinks in there. People made like these custom drinks. So it was just a good time. It was hot, it was sweaty, but it was comical. It was like, oh, you just got the feeling of it, right? So we was like, this is great. How can we do more of this? So we started looking for more spaces to do it. Then I did the first Finger Lakes Comedy Festival in February, which is cold in New York, in upstate New York. It's freezing, bad idea. So that's why I moved it to the fall. And it was really it was three pieces, right? It was one, providing space, both physical and just, I don't know, not virtual, but just a space for comedians to come together, network, and get stage time. Promote local businesses. So we will use local businesses for these venues. So we use the barbershop. We've used chicken and waffle spot. We've used a paint and sip spot. Like, we just use all the local venues to try to support them in any way we can. So for like the chicken and waffles, okay, we'll pay the rental fee. And if you can open the kitchen, we'll pay the staff fee. And then you can make money off the customers who will order chicken and waffles. You smell chicken and waffles, you're gonna order chicken and waffles, right?
You're making me watch chicken and waffles right now.
It was good. So that's how we approached it, right? Like, I knew what I want the festival to be, but the hardest part was the venues. What venues can we use? Who will allow us to use it? What's the capacity of the venue in terms of, like, do we have to bring our own equipment? Do they have equipment? So that became the challenging part of Ithaca, because businesses change so fast.
Right.
So this year we just went with a theater, and it's 99 seats, so it's nothing too big, but I think it's enough. We have enough momentum that I think we can get at least 80% full, right? Nice. And we use a local bar as well, whose owner is really passionate about the arts. So she uses her space to promote comedy, poetry, things of that nature. So using those two venues are great. Redlands, it was tough. Again, run into the same issue, but we ran into a brewery whose owners, again, embraces the art. And we did kind of a ticket kind of deal to be able to use the space. So we only have one venue for Redlands, but that's okay because it's the first annual. And I think it's just a good way to test the ground. But normally we have like 3 to 4 different venues because we have so many comedians and so many different shows going on. But I think for a town like Redlands that has about 67,000 people in it, one venue will be okay. It's a very big space too.
And are they using this as a testing ground to say, hey, maybe in the future you can run weekly or monthly events there or something like that kind of thing?
Actually, they said they do like a monthly or quarterly show with another comedian. I can't remember the guy's name. So that's why they were accepted to it, because they've seen that it worked before, right? But other venues, it was really difficult to get them on board because they probably have never done that before. I wouldn't get responses or calls back. Or then some people just didn't have the physical capacity to be able to hold a comedy show. So,
And how long did that preparation or that kind of the preparation for this go? Like, how long were you looking for venues and stuff like that? Was it a year, 6 months? Like, how long did that take?
about 6 months. So we usually start planning March,
Okay.
late March, or well, I'll say early March. And because we have the blueprint for the Finger Lakes, we try to mimic that. But it may not fit for Redlands. We don't know yet. So when this festival comes and we may make some tweaks, like, okay, this worked in Finger Lakes, but it's not going to work in Redlands. This is what we have to do in Redlands. So it takes about 6 months. And the spring is usually our most busy time because we're planning for the festivals, but we're also planning for the school year, right? So the way we do our bookings with colleges, it follows a school semester, so fall and spring. So as we're rounding up the spring, we're using that summer months to really prep for fall, who we're going to showcase, what states and cities we want to go to, and really target those schools and universities. So
That's
busy
awesome.
times.
That's awesome. Now, about the college market, it's expensive for a comedian to submit. That's like one of the hardest things. So they usually do have agents or company managers or whatever that help do that. What is the hardest part? What is the biggest hurdle for comedians for colleges? Like, what are you finding is the thing that gets them not makes them not get booked or makes them miss out on those bookings or just kind of get rejected? Like, what's the big things there? And what helps get them booked?
And are you referring to like after a showcase or kind of like cold calling and marketing?
Well, I mean,
Because I think the answer varies.
okay, that's fine. Go. Let's hear from both sides.
Okay, so I think for marketing and cold calling and sending your press kits out, I think if one is the quality of the press kit. Again, just sending videos that aren't audible, probably the message that you're sending as well in the email and what you're relaying. I think the best way to go about it is trying to fill a need at the college, right? You're probably not the only comedian trying to get booked at a college, especially if it's a big college, right? So what can you offer that other comedians aren't offering? Can you do a workshop on creative writing, right? Can you do a different type of angle that someone isn't doing? But I think the number one reason people will get rejected through that cold calling is the press kit and just not having a relationship. I think also having an agent helps just because we in America, we're weird like that, but the optics look better, right? Rather than a single person trying to get booking when it comes from a company, it just seems better for some weird reason. I think when you showcase, the number one reason I see people don't get booked is one, competition. Because again, there's a bunch of comedians if there's 50 schools there, 50 schools looking for a comedian, you're in the same competition with everybody else, right? So maybe a comedian is looking for one comedian for the year. That's a tough, that's a tough choice for them to make. Some may want 2 or 3, so it really depends. So I think for showcases though, the quality of the showcase, I think being authentic and being funny, right? You only have 10 minutes to showcase, so making sure that you have jokes that hit and that you're not too cliche, I would say, right? Like you don't want to be too cliche in your set because then you don't stand out.
I like that. I like that. And what can comedians do besides have a good press kit and besides be funny? Is there any additional things? And I like the idea of offering something different too. Does that so a comedian can come and say, "Hey, I'm also X, Y, and Z. I'm a podcaster or I'm a screenwriter. I can add, I can help do a workshop on podcasting or screenwriting or something like that." And that would be another upsell type thing to say, I'm not just going to come here and do comedy. I'm going to do this other thing that's also going to add value. And that's going to make it seem like you have more value to the schools, right? Is that what you're saying?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
so
pretty.
you package it together just like that, right? And it's like, okay, if it's between Chris and James, okay, Chris is funny, but James also has this. So we can bring James and maybe get the creative writing department to throw $300 towards this event. And now we have, and because I come from that world, because I used to book acts, and I tell you, I would never spend my budget. I would bring an act, and I would bring this org, because everyone has to do events, right? Let's do a comedy show. Oh, you want to do a fundraiser? Oh, you want to do this? Let's put it together. And the comedian is the glue, right? So we have the comedian, we have the entertainment. Let's build everything around it. You give me 400, you give me 400, I do 500. Now we got a whole comedian that I don't have to come up my budget. So instead of doing 2-3 events, I could do 8 events throughout the course of the year. You
Wow.
know, so and that's how I thought as a student. I also grew up poor, so that's probably just me pulling
Same.
resources, but I don't know if other the tricky part about the college market is that each college is set up so differently. So I was lucky enough to have my college advisor, Teresa, who is now my admin assistant, which is crazy. Talk about full circle moment. Who allowed the students to take action. So we were the ones making the decisions, right? Oh, we like this person. Let's bring this person. Oh, let's join them with the music. So we do a comedy music night, right? We'll look at the contract. She'll sign it, but we'll still receive the contract, send it to her, set up everything. So she allowed us to be very hands-on. And I think those skills help translate to me starting this business. But then there are some schools where the students are just there. The advisor makes all the decisions. They may ask for the student's opinion, as they should, but the advisor is the one making all the decisions. So sometimes it's the relationship game. If you know the advisor, if you don't know the advisor, and we're talking about people that's been in this game 20, 25, 30 years. So as a new cat coming in, is really, especially as a solo person, it's really, really difficult to try to break up the boy, I don't even, because it's not only men club, but the good old boys club, right? So it's really difficult because if it's between 2 comedians and one agency that's been in the game for 30 years and you've done business with them year after year, and this new guy, if you're the advisor, you're gonna go person you've done business with already. You know everything is easy, boom. But the students may say, hey, I want this one. So it's really just about building those relationships and being very authentic in building the relationships, right? Like understand, like, yes, we're here, we're trying to get business. We want to, we want your business and we want to provide you with a great service, but let's also connect as humans and people, right? And I think that's the piece a lot of people miss because the conferences are so expensive. You're kind of just worried about getting your money back that you get a little bit frantic and you focus too much on the business and not on the relationship networking part, because you never know later down the line that student or that advisor may switch schools, right? And may go at a different school and remember you. So it's just a lot of that, a lot of building relationships, a lot of networking.
And that's just good life advice, honestly. Like, network with people, be a good person, be authentic, be real, because 1, people can smell fraud from like miles away. And 2, also, it doesn't help you when you try to kiss up to somebody or you fake something. It just, it's so, that's the worst feeling. Like when you're like, oh, I hate when someone does that. You're like, I can't stand it. So last question, where can people find you? Where can they find all about the Redlands and all that stuff? Where can they reach out to you for information about getting on Redlands? I know I said it, but I want to make sure that you get it out there and that you can promote anything else you need to promote as well.
Absolutely. So for everything Too Funny Entertainment, you can go to www, if you still type that in, just folks that still type that in, toofunnyent.com. That's 2, the number 2, funnyent.com. And there we have a tab for festivals. Once you click on the festivals, you'll see all the festivals we're doing this year and next year. And then you can follow us on Instagram, Too Funny Entertainment. And then you can follow me personally at Brother Chris, BROTHA Chris, and that's on Instagram. I don't post too much funny stuff. I save that for Too Funny, but if you into seeing nice reels and listening to R&B music, that's my bag. So you're more than welcome to come check out my page.
I'm 100%
and we are still taking submissions. So all comedians looking for stage time, please submit. It is only $30, and the only reason I have a fee is because I've learned people will apply and not show up, and that is not fun. So I just want to make sure that people pay so there's some skin in the game to actually show up and perform. But it should be a good time. You get to connect with me. Again, it's a smaller festival. For the Finger Lakes Comedy Festival, we have spaces where people can actually network with other producers and myself to kind of learn a little bit more about the college market and a lot of what we talked about today. But that will also be happening at the Redlands Festival as well. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you guys go check it out. I'll put all the links in the show notes below. Chris, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I 100% appreciate it. I'm so glad I found out about the Redlands Comedy Festival. It seemed like something really cool. I think I was scrolling through Instagram and I found it. And then I was like, I got to reach out to this. This is very cool. And I appreciate it. So thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please go like and subscribe. Go check out Chris's stuff. Again, I'll put everything in the show notes and go apply. $30. There's 3 nights. I think, can you get booked for all 3 nights? Like, could a comedian get booked for all 3 nights?
All 3 nights if you're available.
There you go. 3 nights, $30. That's cheaper than open mics in LA, and you're gonna get a real crowd. You're gonna get real shows. He's gonna give you pictures.
And a free beer. I forgot to mention that if you drink, there's a free beer because we're in a brewery. They're giving us free beer. So
look, you don't even have to pay for a drink. That's way better than open mic in LA. So there you go. Yeah, thank you, Chris, so much. Thank you for everybody for listening. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.